as you guys know, I'm probably one of the biggest Becky Lynch stans, for good or for bad. And we have Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton on NXT for the NXT Women's Championship. And I thought I'd have a discussion with Unfiltered MPKH or Filtered MPKH, whichever version of himself he decides to be. And we deep dive into this because I know I am biased in this conversation. I know I need a voice of reason in this because I'm just going to say Becky should win. So I'm going to hear from you, Unfiltered MPKH or Filtered. What's your thoughts on this match? Who you think should win? How should they win? Should it lead to something else? Let me know what you think.
See, this is something that we should have done like a few weeks back when it was being announced. Now that it's official, we got to have this chat. So,
yeah.
Becky Lynch is NXT Women's Champion. I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was like, there's no need. Like, Becky doesn't need it. But the more I lean into it and the possibilities I'm seeing with her, it'll give us something to do for now. Because let's face it, there hasn't been much that Becky Lynch has done. I mean, yeah, she had a feud with Trish, but it wasn't really what we wanted it to be. Let me say that.
Except for that final match. Sorry to interrupt you, but that steel cage match slapped.
Oh yes, for sure. Chef's kiss.
Carry on.
Steel cage. But and I know there's gonna be some people that are saying that, oh, Triple H is booking the older talent to beat the younger guys. Okay, let me just debunk that argument now. One, Becky Lynch is in the prime of her career. She's not no Goldberg or Sting chasing after a world title. Like, we don't want that, okay? She's in the prime of her career, and she still has more and more to chase for.
Yeah.
Hence why she's going for the NXT Women's title.
Yeah.
And two, I'm thinking with this match, I think possibly Tiffany might need some work because her title reign hasn't worked out for me, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think it's been like a Mandy Rose 2.0, if that makes sense, but not as good. And I say that simply because they both have a similar gimmick of just being an obnoxious, very attractive woman that's basically keeping hold of that title. And it hasn't worked for me either. She doesn't really have the competitors to go up against. There's no... Who's the babyface woman on NXT right now? There's obviously Roxanne Perez, who is the most over out of all of them. There's Gigi Dolan, who it looks like they don't really know what to do with her. Who else after that? There's not much. Ivy Nile?
I'm not gonna lie. Ivy Nile, yeah, but...
There's not much.
I wouldn't say top babyface, but
yeah, exactly.
She's a babyface, all right.
She's a babyface. Like, on the small list of babyface women, she's there. And I think that is a problem because I don't see a worthy competitor to beat her. So I do think, in my opinion, a Becky Lynch coming in, taking that title, perhaps pulling a Dolph Ziggler by allowing Tiffany to beat her for the title on Raw, perhaps. That could be a possibility. That could, one, elevate Tiffany, and two, get some eyes on the NXT product, which they're always seeking to do, as we've seen with all these faces that are coming in and out of the product. I think it'll be good for the brand, give Tiffany a good rivalry, and perhaps Becky could either lose to Tiffany or one of the many heels, Cora. Why can I not think of any others? But there's a lot of heels on the NXT roster right now that could benefit from beating someone like Becky Lynch.
Oh, for sure. Like, definitely they can. Whether it's a face or a heel, beating Becky Lynch, that's the biggest thing that one woman can say.
And I don't see anybody else that can beat Tiffany Stratton that would make sense. I don't see anybody else. Perhaps Roxanne, but I feel like they've been there, done that. Roxanne needs a little bit of more time away from the title. And I think they'll eventually have something between her and Cora for the title, which is obviously not right now. So I don't see anyone else but Becky Lynch, and I see Becky Lynch cementing herself as the GOAT in women's wrestling by picking up another title to add to her list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I would not mind. I would not mind seeing Becky Lynch as NXT Women's Champion. Had you asked me this like in 2015, I'd say for sure, for sure. But now that I've had my voice of reason and I thought it over, and yeah, I think I want to see it primarily because it'll help out the women on the NXT Women's roster, help make a name for themselves also, and try and learn something from Becky too. So
For
yeah.
sure. For sure. The other thing is it keeps Becky away from the obvious challenge in Rhea Ripley. It keeps her away from her for a little while longer as they build to something probably towards Mania time. Because if Becky's on the same roster doing nothing, she can't be fighting with Chelsea Green, for example, just an example, when Rhea Ripley is standing right there. Becky goes for titles at the end of the day. So keeping her busy on NXT, I think, will also be a good thing for the storyline purpose on Raw.
Yeah, true. Because initially, we've seen chat about possibly Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 40, and that's been the talk of Twitter for the past I don't know how many weeks now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and yeah, I think give Becky some time to take over NXT and come on Raw every once in a while, and then let Rhea control Raw and hop on NXT with the Judgment Day a few times. So
yeah, and I mean,
that
carry on.
I think that's what WWE are gonna be doing so forth.
I agree, and I think in terms of ratings, I don't think there's much anybody better other than maybe a Seth Rollins and LA Knight, that could really pop the ratings like Becky Lynch, if we're being honest. I think we'll see definitely an increase in the viewership on NXT this Tuesday. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a good match. I don't know if they're gonna clash in styles. I don't know if they're gonna work well together. Tiffany still seems very, very green at the same time. We saw that in her submission match that she had. She needs work. She needs work, and working with Becky Lynch might help a lot in that.
Mm-hmm. I really do think the same thing too. So yeah. What else can we say? Well, let's look at the possibilities of Becky Lynch being NXT Women's Champion. Like, who do we see her go up against? We see her going up against the likes of Kiana James, Ivy Nile, who else? That live Valkyrie Hunt.
Yeah, live Valkyrie.
That would actually be nice.
Blair would also be good. Blair Davenport would be good. JC Jane would be good. There's a lot of heels on the roster. That's the thing. A lot of heels. And them losing to Becky Lynch won't hurt them. It's Becky Lynch. Like, she's main evented a WrestleMania. And these are just developmental talents. So it won't hurt them at all, and it'll give them a good run with the top wrestler. Give them a good rub. I think we could see some good feuds. If she's there for a long time, she could just be there for a quick one and done. She could lose. She could lose to Tiffany as well. That's a possibility.
Oh, now that's another factor we should consider. Like we mentioned, beating Becky Lynch would cement yourself. Not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
Let's say Tiffany was to retain. Then what happens afterwards? What happens afterwards?
I don't know where you go from there, because then no one can beat her. Then she's got to go on an Oscar level run and a Mandy Rose level run on a Reign of Terror. Because if she's beating Becky Lynch, how's Roxanne Perez going to beat her? How's Ivy Nile going to beat her?
How's anybody going to beat her?
Exactly. Unless we see Zoe Stark decide, listen, I'm not done with you, Becky Lynch, and she interferes.
Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing to consider. So yeah,
because it feels like there's a natural progression with Zoe Stark and Becky still to happen, I think.
Oh yeah, that I can see coming into play tomorrow night.
That could,
Zoe
that
Stark
really could
possibly coming to interfere in the match.
For sure. Look, I don't think there's much else we can discuss until it actually happens. So that's basically our early predictions, our early thoughts on what could happen, what could go wrong, how this could benefit everybody. And yeah, it's up to you guys to let us know if we are right or if we are wrong, and what you think about the whole Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton match. Anyways, guys, take care. Peace.
Ciao.